Today we're pumping iron with British Vogue, crowd surfing with Vanity Fair, and going to Sin City with Vogue Portugal. My name is Marco, welcome to the Model Gene, and if you're ready to dissect this month's covers, hit that like button and let's get started on July's Battle of the Covers. Starting off with British Vogue, we have Dua Lipa by David Sims, a reference to this 1982 photo of Lisa Lyon by Robert Mapplethorpe. She looks strong, her pose is creating lots of room for the eye to travel, and I especially like her hands because they're not in the same position. That is one of my biggest keys to creating an interesting pose. If you have two of something, do something different with them. Eyes and ears not included. When I look at the editorial, there's another reference I'm clocking. This heavy painted brow and braid combo reminds me of this Pop magazine editorial by Merton Marcus. I think they also mixed in some Helmut Newton in here. He loved a sexy, leggy woman in heels. He would have taken this picture. Vittoria Ceretti covers Vogue Italia. I absolutely love this work by Carlijn Jacobs. It is my favorite cover of the month. The use of color is so smart, but in black and white, you can see it is simply a well-composed image with high contrast that would have been great regardless of the color. Across the editorial as well, so many fabulous images. I'm sure they considered this portrait for the cover. This photo with the white boots is amazing. It is a real visual feast wherever you look. It has been a long time since Vogue Italia has really delivered to this level on a cover story. I'm really happy to see this and hope it continues for next month. Vogue Philippines has 3 covers for their July-August Wanderlust issue. My favorite is of Joanne Bitacol. The ruffled top and fringe skirt give texture and movement in the absence of color. I can feel the cool air from looking at this photo. For the cover of Julie Zhang, I do not understand their decision to have the entire image out of focus. I would have preferred the model if she was moving and there was a partial motion blur, rather than everything being blurry, and I don't love when they remove the G entirely from Vogue. The last cover is my least favorite. It feels the most amateur, like a new photographer got some friends together to take some pictures, and I'm not a fan when the cover has the shadows color graded so the blacks are very blue, right next to pure black text. These aren't my favorite Vogue Philippines cover of the year, but I have high hopes for September. Lorde covers Vogue Australia, a much better offering of covers than last month. Lorde reminds me of model Heather Kaminsky in these covers, a nice balance of masculine and feminine, but there are a few things I would change from these covers. From this image, they should have paid more attention to the tones of the clothing. Because this jacket is too blue for the trousers, the image would have been stronger if it was a warmer ivory color. If they wanted to go bare chest on the cover, a larger earring on this side where her hair is blown back would have added that bit of additional interest to the image, balancing the ring on her opposite hand, because the look itself is missing texture or embellishment. If we are supposed to appreciate the silhouette of the garment, there's too much text covering it up to do so, but I don't hate this cover. I think Lorde looks good here. The digital cover looks like the BTS photos from a runway show to show the makeup, but here we don't have the makeup to show off. I think the other 2 covers were strong enough that this third one wasn't needed. Gracie Abrams covers Vogue Mexico, and I'm a bit surprised that this is the cover they produced. I think the biggest mistake they made was not shooting her in a color palette that suits her complexion, because this barely even looks like her. She has such an incredible face. Look at her natural beauty in her album covers. Anytime I see a photo of her, I am taken aback at her beauty, but somehow they didn't manage to capture that on a Vogue cover. I'm sure this isn't the last Vogue cover in her future, so I'm looking forward to seeing a photographer who takes advantage of such a model-esque subject. Of the 4 covers for Vogue Portugal, this one of Alana Champion as a sleepy Vegas showgirl is my favorite. It really stands out from a traditional cover image. I'm being compelled to pick up the magazine to see what is going to happen with this narrative. This shoe cover is a fashionable spin on one of the croc giblets meets a Labubu keychain, fun and colorful. Amy Taylor's cover I would have preferred at sunrise or sunset, where I could better make sense of the light source, but the stylist did do a good job at creating a mood. Lastly, Brooke Candy's cover is fine, my least favorite from the bunch, but I wish they went way more extreme with the colorful makeup rather than this traditional glam beat. Yasmin Wijnaldum covers Vogue Netherlands in a photo that is an insult to her beauty. Her Vogue Germany cover, lovely. Vogue Thailand, great. Vogue España, also nice. But selecting this facial expression for Vogue Netherlands is diabolical. If they wanted to go with something more casual and silly, this would have worked better, but her mouth all scrunched up like that? Absolutely no. I do like the colors and the styling works, but this tilted horizon while the summer in the city text goes the other way, not a fan. The digital cover is moderately better, at least her face doesn't look crazy. but the text shouldn't be covering so much of her. I want to see her silhouette since her legs are being featured. Also, the shadow in front of her arm plus this position makes it look like a toothpick, not the best pose, and not a good month for Vogue Netherlands. Nora Atal covers Vogue Greece. I like these covers and the editorial, especially with how many studio covers there are. I love when we get to have a summer location shoot and get to be transported to a holiday while looking at the images. I prefer the cover that is in color, the dome behind her is unique, and adding to the photo without being too much of a distraction, she still pops in the image. In the black and white cover, I don't think this bank piece looks great while being photographed straight to camera, but I love this image with it. I would like to see more range of expression in these photos, but overall, it is a good month for Vogue Greece. Pamela Anderson covers Harper's Bazaar, showing off her natural beauty in this crisp white cover, but I would hope for a bit more from this magazine. It is a beauty image, but I could see it for the cover of a memoir or a more conservative magazine rather than a fashion magazine. Last month's WSJ magazine with Io Debris by Ethan James Green and this cover of Pamela could have swapped magazines and it would have been a better fit. There's just not enough graphic interest here. Go Yoon Young's cover of Harper's Bazaar Korea. These covers have entered the uncanny valley. I actually don't mind this photo that is a bit more zoomed out. A bit of sweetness in her expression would have been nice, but in the portraits, they are retouched so aggressively, her skin looks like rubber. Every line on her face, her neck, it's all been erased, and it makes me uncomfortable to look at. So much has been erased from this cover, her neck is lacking human anatomy at this point. Not at all a fan of these covers for Harper's Bazaar Korea, and this is my least favorite cover of the month. Pedro Pascal covers Vanity Fair. I really dislike this cover by Sølve Sundsbø. This rock star crowd surfing photo is something you've seen many times before. Sølve is referencing his own work with this 2003 cover of Raquel Zimmerman for L'Officiel, or this Tom Ford campaign, but this cover of Pedro is worse in every way. In the other images, the crowd of fans are less visible, but here we are seeing their faces and it weakens the image. I don't know why so many of the guys are wearing sunglasses, but beyond that, it is like the creative team have no idea that the ones lusting after him are middle-aged women who don't realize Pedro is a friend of Dorothy, not teenagers and 20-year-olds. His shirt has been made to look like he was sweating, but if they wanted to sell that story, everyone in the crowd should be drenched, dewy, dripping wet, Pedro included. In the editorial, I much prefer these images. They feel way more honest, and I would have gone with the more authentic choice and made this the cover. Let me know in the comments which you prefer. Carmen Cas and Brandy Quinones cover Harper's Bazaar ESPAÑA, and if not for these hideous tights, this would be my favorite of the images. Brandy is exuding joy, her pose is great, I just can't get over that shade of green. This photo feels too much of an Architectural Digest home tour cover photo, but she looks beautiful. Of the Carmen Cas covers, I really like this one in her Valentino, but she clearly is missing a Valentino red nail. I think this Chanel cover would have worked better against a darker background, but I'm always happy to see her on a cover. Lux Pascal and Paco Leon cover the digital issue of Harper's Bazaar ESPAñA, and this is a perfect execution of this cover. The matching jumpers with intertwined limbs, it is hard to see where one begins and the other ends. They did a great job here. Marie Letterman covers Elle France. It is a nice summer cover, but I find the amount of text to be overwhelming. The model is drowning in text, different font sizes and colors. It is just too busy for a cover where there is already a lot going on with the image. If this was shot in studio with more negative space and a more minimal look, I could excuse the text, but this is just too much. Tasha Lowe and Zoe Tay cover Vogue Singapore, two beautiful and rich images that celebrate Singapore. The caption says, "Home, rooted in ancestry and shaped by modern living," and I think these covers do a great job at speaking to that. Tasha's cover definitely feels more modern of the two. I love the selection of jewelry, her makeup and hair. She looks wonderful here, and I especially love the warmness of her skin. Zoe Tay's cover is more mature, mysterious, sexy. Quite a lot going on in the image, but the restrained black and cool tones keep it grounded. 2 thumbs up for the 2 Vogue Singapore covers this month. Olivia Petronella Palermo covers Vogue Turkey, and as much as I like the photographer Joren Koers, I much preferred his Vogue Netherlands cover with Dorit Reveles. I like his work when the model is showcased very naturally, and although the messy hair is signaling that, this pose feels forced. I like the styling in the covers, but even in the editorial, the model doesn't do a great job at playing a believable, authentic character. It is just very posy. Veronica Kunz covers Vogue Ukraine, and like British Vogue's Dua Lipa cover, we are getting another bodybuilder reference. I would have gone without the visor, but I like the cleanliness of this image, the androgyny. It is very easily digestible. I would have put her in front of the text and not removed the G from Vogue, but otherwise, I enjoy the cover. Elle Macpherson covers ESPAñA, and this is my favorite of the 3 covers by Javi Gordo. Even though we don't have eye contact with the subject, I can feel her authentic warmth in the image. Her pose and all this hair are great. In this cover where she's throwing her leg up, if she was just raised slightly up on that supporting foot, the image would have had that extra bit of tension to take it to another level. I'm not wild about her expression here, but she definitely knows how to deliver sexy rock star. Vogue Czechoslovakia has 4 covers for July, my favorite being this one of Bibi Abdulkadir by Luca Booth. This doesn't scream Czech Republic, but it is a beautiful image with a lot of consideration made for graphic impact. I love how Bibi crossed her legs here. It definitely adds to the image. With the 2 covers of John Cortajarena, I'm afraid his beauty can invite a bit of laziness from the creative team. There's no storytelling in these covers, no effort in the hair or styling, but of course he looks great. This just feels like a missed opportunity. Vilma Sjöberg is on the last cover of Vogue Czechoslovakia. The hair and makeup don't feel cohesive with the look, but I like what is going on from the neck up. She is one of those models that is part of the H&M Digital Twin campaign. I wonder if there will be any clients who get turned off by her as a result. Natalia Vodianova covers El Arabia, and the retouching here is out of control. It feels so amateur in both pictures. In this cover, the subject is too warm-toned against the coolness of the background, very artificial. The retouching on her face here is even more egregious. It is all way too smooth, which makes it look AI generated. Natalia is one of the most beautiful faces in the modeling industry. She deserves better. Vivian Solari covers Vogue Poland, and photographer Ina Levy did a great job in storytelling here. This cover could have stayed inside the fashion story rather than the cover, but I really like this one because it feels so timeless. I'm getting a mix of Edward Steichen with this 1932 cover with a bit of Helmut Newton from 1978. Elle Korea has 3 covers of Jisoo, and these are my favorite images of her. Photographer Park Jong-ha captured her sweetness and natural beauty. She is a global ambassador for Cartier, as evidenced by the overwhelming amount of Cartier she is wearing in these covers. But besides this image where the face of the watch feels forced, I don't mind the product placement. Brennan Aldred and Francisco Trincao cover GQ Portugal. Let's start with Brennan. He has one of those Greek statue faces, a masculine beauty that has become increasingly rare in the homogenized casting of young twinks. It is a beautiful cover. I just wish there was either a necklace or something that was in white in the image. It is all very mid-tone forward, but I like the cover nonetheless. Of the 2 covers of Francisco, this one feels lazy and predictable, but I really love this cover. The mix of textures and color is really fun, his face is beautifully lit, and if I didn't know he was an athlete, I would have guessed he was an actor based on how comfortably he was able to convey emotion in this image. I don't always love Elio's photography, but when it's good, it's really good. And that is where today's review is going to end. But for more about the fashion industry, check out the links below. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the covers this month, and be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the battle of the covers.